Hey, it's Emily Williams here, the founder of I Heart My Life and your host of the I Heart My Life show. This is episode 48, Scared or Rich, 4 Steps to Move Past Fear and Hit Your Money Goals. So one of my favorite topics in the world is money mindset, and I also love talking about fear. So this is a really incredible and very practical episode to support you in moving past the fear that is truly holding your dreams hostage and keeping you broke. So most people don't know that they have a money story. They don't know that they have a money mindset. They don't know that there are money beliefs beneath the surface that are holding them back from achieving their next level goals. So this is your opportunity to really get clear around what fears are holding you back so that you can move through them and achieve the life and business of your dreams. So like I said, I'm going to give you 4 clear steps. You're going to be able to take action immediately after this episode. And I know you're going to see huge results by putting this in place in your life and business. So let's go ahead and dive into episode 48, Scared or Rich. Today's episode is all about money mindset. In particular, we're talking about fear and how it stops us from making the money that we desire in our life and our business. So a few years ago, I was working with a client on a group coaching call, and she was bringing up all these reasons in which things weren't working and all of these things that she was scared of doing. And I asked her point blank, I said, do you want to be scared or do you want to be rich? And today we're going to talk all about that, talk about how fear stops you from achieving your money goals, how fear stops you from having the impact that you desire and from transforming your life and your family's lives. So let's dive in. So fear is an interesting topic. It's one of my favorite topics in the world because it's really one of those things that once you recognize and you're able to move past, you can conquer anything. You can achieve anything that your heart desires. But fear stops so many people from living the life that they're dreaming of. So let's go ahead and break it down a little bit more. So fear is often the thing that arises within us once we've gone into doubt and then we've gone into worry and then we go into fear. And the thing is that fear is actually a normal thing. It's a normal thing. When we were years and hundreds and thousands of years ago, there were a lot of things to be feared. The fear of not having enough food, the fear of being killed, the fear of being ostracized if we weren't a part of our family unit anymore. All of those things were real fears. And of course, within our family, fears have been passed down. So maybe there are certain fears that your friends or family taught you about when you were growing up. Maybe there are certain fears that were a part of your society. Maybe there are certain fears that have been passed down from your grandparents or great-grandparents. A lot of us have family members who were a part of the Great Depression and of the war, and there were a lot of very, very real fears that were a part of their life. And now we bring all of those fears into our adulthood, into our current reality, and they no longer are valid and they no longer actually serve us. But we recognize them as real. We recognize them as the truth because we haven't taught our mind to think in a different way. And we haven't taught ourselves how to move through that fear even when it comes up. And the truth is you'll hear me talk about this many times on the show, one of the greatest tools at your disposal is just being able to be self-aware. So that's what we're going to talk about here today. I'm also going to share the 4 A's that I believe are super key to moving past fear and creating the wealth that you desire. So first and foremost, like I said, we want to understand that fear is actually normal, but it's not real. And so the first step that we need to take here is to acknowledge your fear. Let's not pretend that it's not there. It's totally there. You feel nervous when you think about getting on camera. You feel nervous when you think about raising your prices or asking for that raise. You feel nervous starting the business. You feel nervous about becoming too successful because you're worried about what people will think. Will your family still love you? So all of these thoughts are running through your mind. They've probably been running through your mind for years, if not decades. And as they say, new levels, new devils. So even if you've already started your business or you're moving forward with something full speed ahead, once you reach that next level or that next opportunity, you're going to start to see that there are probably some fears that are still there beneath the surface. And so this work here today is not about not acknowledging that the fear exists or pretending that it's not there. Quite the opposite. Because the fact is, whatever we resist actually persists. I'm going to say that again. Whatever we resist persists. So if you're in resistance of something, that actually means that you have a lot of energy going towards it. You're very focused on it. And so it actually magnifies it. It makes it bigger. So what we want to do here is acknowledge that the fear is there. So for example, maybe you do want to raise your prices. You want to charge more. Or maybe you've created something really spectacular and you want to charge $10,000 for it. We'll just use that example. So there might be the fear that comes up around, is anyone actually going to buy it? Am I worthy of charging that amount of money for this service or this product? What are people going to think when I put that price point out there? Am I actually deserving of the money? All of these thoughts come up for us. And we get to choose. We get to choose whether we acknowledge those fears or, again, we resist them. We push them away. We make ourselves wrong for them. Like I said, that's the complete opposite of what we want to do. We want to acknowledge them. Literally say, hey, I see you. You are present. I acknowledge you. And I get where you're coming from. I get that this is a story that was passed down from family members or from grandparents. I get that it's the societal norm to be afraid of charging a lot or to wonder if we're actually worthy of making money. I get that. And I'm choosing to move forward. Okay. So the first step is acknowledgement. I love in the book, Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, she talks about how fear is always going to be in the car with her, but it doesn't get to touch the radio. It doesn't get to touch the steering wheel, all of that. It's not available to have any sort of forward motion. It's just there in the car. And that's what we're talking about here today, making sure to acknowledge that fear. And this is a really great understanding or a really great time to really understand why that fear is actually there. So many of us are carrying the burden of other people's fears. So maybe something negative did happen to your father or your mother growing up. I know for me, one of the things I really had to move past was this fear of bankruptcy, because I actually saw firsthand my dad experience that in 2008. I know that my grandfathers have also had struggles with businesses in the past. Okay. And so there was a fear around, will this happen to me? So I want you to get really clear around your fear. Acknowledge it and understand where it's coming from. Is it yours, or is it that baggage that you're carrying from someone else's experience that you're bringing into your business, into your adulthood? It's obviously not going to serve you. It's somebody else's material. And this is the awareness piece that we need to start shifting into, which is step number 2. So I want you to ask yourself, is this fear actually real? Is this for certain going to happen? Or is this, again, someone else's fear? Or is it a fear that I'm actually using as a delay tactic? So let me explain that a little bit more. Oftentimes what happens when we're about to do something big is that the mind, it goes into panic mode because it doesn't understand what the next step actually is. And so it thinks to itself, you know what? I've never done this before. I've never been here. This is freaking me out. And so I'm going to put on the brakes. And so we use fear around, oh, my mom wouldn't approve, or my husband wouldn't approve, or people are going to laugh at me, or no one's ever going to pay for that, or I'm worried about getting on stage. We use all of those fears as a way to stop ourselves from moving forward. And again, we do all of this subconsciously. We may think that those fears are real. We may think that we will be laughed at. And frankly, maybe there will be some people who won't get it. But you also have to remember that you are stronger than you're giving yourself credit for. So have awareness around this fear. What's really going to happen should this fear come up? Should this thing actually happen? And so I like to follow my fear. So let's break this down a little bit more, and I'll give you a tangible example. So say you raise your prices, you're going to be selling that awesome package for $10,000. You ask yourself, okay, so if my fear is that no one is going to buy, let's follow that fear. Okay, so you put the service out there, $10,000. I have 5 spots at $10,000. Then you move forward and you ask yourself, okay, if no one purchases this, what will happen? So you might think to yourself, oh, I'll be embarrassed. I'll be really disappointed. I'll be sad. I might cry in bed for a few days. Okay, well then what? Well, then you would probably pick yourself up and figure out a different plan of attack, plan of action. Maybe you revise the price. Maybe you revise the offer. Maybe you think of a different strategy to fill those spots. So with every step, we figure out that the fear actually doesn't have power over us. I did the same thing with the bankruptcy fear. So for example, if I had gone into bankruptcy, what would happen? Well, I would probably rebuild this business quicker than before because I'd done it once and I now would have had the knowledge to say, you know what, I'm going to do things differently. And I'm also going to continue to do what I know works. I would also have the network that I didn't have when I first started. So I know that I would be supported in terms of moving forward quickly. So again, do you see that when we start to play out this fear, we acknowledge it, we have awareness of it, and then we follow it, we see that it's not actually that scary. No one's going to die. Nothing bad is going to happen that we can't handle because we are resilient. And so we're able to start to move through it. And I love this quote from Mel Robbins in the book, Stop Saying You're Fine. She says, 9 times out of 10, when you feel caution, there is no risk. It's your evolutionary hardwiring peering into the darkness saying, beyond this point lies the unknown, and the unknown should be feared. But the unknown should not be feared. It should be embraced. Feeling nervous is not a red flag warning you of danger. Nerves mean you are about to do something new. Feeling nervous is part of the program, so expect to feel nervous. It's a signal to step on the gas, not on the brake. And what if you started to operate from that space and you truly believed that when you felt fear, it was actually a good thing? That's what I want to encourage you to do today and really have that awareness around, yes, the fear is there, but what does it mean? And is there actually true, real danger? I'd imagine if we went back 100 years, 200 years, whatever you want to think about, if we went back in time and we shared our fears today with people of that period of time, they would think we were crazy. You're scared of having a conversation. You're scared of getting on the phone with a potential client. You're scared of raising your prices. You're scared of getting on video. Okay, well, let me show you some real fears. The fear around getting a disease at 14 and dying, the fear around not having enough food, the fear around not having clean water, all of that. And so I want you to really remember that although your fears are valid, these are not life-threatening fears. And so in many ways, we can say that they aren't actually real because they're not actually going to happen. Again, the mind is pulling up all the roadblocks, all the reasons why you shouldn't move forward. But these aren't actually true reasons. And in my opinion, what's on the other side of fear, it's much scarier thinking about not moving forward with that. It's much scarier to not move forward with your dreams, to not live a life of purpose and feel fulfilled, to not make more money. So I want you to think to yourself, what is on the other side of that fear? And that leads us to step number 3, which is attachment. So attach yourself to the desire. What's on the other side of that fear? For example, if you want to make more money in your business, think about what is the desire there? Why do you want to make more money? What are you going to achieve by having more money in the bank? Maybe it means you're going to be able to hire someone to help you, so you're no longer a one-woman show. Maybe it means that you're going to be able to take a vacation and travel the world and experience beautiful locations. Maybe it means that you're going to spend more time with your friends and family. Maybe it means you're going to have a greater impact. Maybe it means you're going to be able to pay for Facebook ads. Whatever it may be, ask yourself, what is the desire? Why do we want to keep moving forward even though the fear is there? So let me give you a tangible example. When I was just starting I Heart My Life, I went through a period of 54 no's in a row. I've talked about this many times. So I got on call after call with 54 people who said no to working with me. So you better believe that that started to create a pattern in my mind of, okay, I get on the phone with people. It's scary. I suck at sales and they say no. But on the flip side, I knew that I was destined for this. I was so connected to my purpose and connected to what I knew I was meant for that I had no choice but to keep going. So the desire was so much stronger than the fear itself. So I want you to think about that for yourself. I envisioned selling to incredible clients, being able to work with women around the world and support them as they move forward towards their dreams. I envisioned myself on stage writing that best-selling book. I envisioned being able to work with James and to have more money in the bank to travel. At that time, I was working towards being able to take an international trip to Miami and actually fly business class. And I remember when I started opening myself up to the possibility, I'd never flown business class. I think maybe once or twice I'd been upgraded. And it was my intention to fly business class on this flight towards this to this event that I was going to be a part of, this group program I was a part of. And I remember going through that period of 54 no's in a row and reminding myself every day about why I was doing this. One of those main reasons was to be able to upgrade on flights and to no longer fly from London to the United States in a tiny little seat where I was squished for 13 hours at a time. I was not available for that anymore. And so I had a lot of financial goals that I focused on. I had a lot of personal goals that I focused on. I knew what I was meant for. And so I want you to start to attach to your own desire, because only when we see the benefit of moving through the fear will we actually be able to do so. So I'm going to say that again. Only when we see the benefit of moving through the fear will we be able to do so. So think about weight loss. So there are many fears that come up, at least for me, when I think about getting healthy or eating well or changing my diet. So some of the first fears that come up are am I going to miss out on going to restaurants that I love? It's always around the fear of missing out. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Am I not going to be social anymore when we go out and I don't actually have a glass of champagne or wine? Am I going to miss out on trying that new dessert? And I remember Oprah actually saying this when she started to become more wealthy. She realized that for so many years she had to sacrifice and she wasn't actually able to enjoy certain pleasures in life, like going out to eat and having beautiful food. And so when she came into money and she created her wealth, it was very difficult for her not to want to experience everything that life had to offer. And that turned into her having an unhealthy relationship with food. So I want you to really think about this. What are the benefits that you want to experience here? What are the reasons to move past the fear? Why are you getting up? And on the flip side, we want to think about things like, okay, well, if I eat healthily, then I'm going to be able to fit into my beautiful clothes. Then I'm going to be able to be more energized. Then I'm going to be able to show up for my clients. And you know what? You can even attach this to money. So one of the people that I worked with recently, about a few years ago, was Marla Mattinson. You've probably heard her on the show at this point. And she discovered in our work together that the main reason, one of my main motivations was money and creating wealth. Not just to have money sitting in the bank, but because of what it meant for me and for my family and for James. And so she knew that that would be one of the things that would motivate me. And so whether we were talking about having more sex or exercising more or eating healthily, she helped me draw an attachment to that thing that I was doing and making more money. So what if you started to believe that the more you get on camera, the more money you make, or the more you show up in your business, or the more emails you write, or the more posts you create, the more money you make? And I'm not talking about this from a place of overworking or doing it in a way that's desperate, but I'm talking about you having an understanding of what it is that you actually want and recognizing when you move past that fear, you get to create that. And for a lot of people, the desire is wealth. And so number one, I want you to get really comfortable with saying that you desire to make a lot of money. I desire to make a lot of money. I desire to be rich. I desire to be financially abundant. I desire to have $1 million in the bank, whatever that desire actually is. Because when we're judging our desire or we're in fear around it not happening, that's a low vibrational energy. That's not a place where you're going to create wealth. So I want you to really think, what is that desire? And how can I get there? And most likely your answer is by doing the thing that you're afraid of and focusing on the benefit of doing the thing versus what you're going to miss out on or what you're scared of experiencing. So why do you want what you want? What are the benefits of that desire? And that's why I said to my client, you can either be scared or rich. So if you're going to live in a place of fear, that means you're not going to take action. That means you're not going to show up. That means you're going to be scared of everything around every corner and you're never going to take any risks. If you want to be rich, if you want to be wealthy, if you want to be abundant, if you want to be happy, then you got to move through the fear. And truth be told, you can use this phrase with anything. You can either be scared or rich, scared or happy, scared or fulfilled, scared or an impact maker, scared or successful. And it's not that the fear doesn't exist in every moment of every day, but you're so focused on moving through it and moving into the place that you desire to be in that it dissipates and you're no longer obsessed with it. You're no longer living in fear or making decisions from a place of fear. That happens so often. So many women in particular are making decisions from a place of fear instead of desire. So get attached to your desire and you're going to be able to move through anything, whether it's 54 no's in a row, trying to lose 50 pounds, getting up on stage, writing that book. You better believe that fear is with me every step of the way. Fear is a part of the journey. Just as Elizabeth Gilbert said, it's in that car. Okay. And I love this quote from Gabrielle Bernstein from The Universe Has Your Back. She says, remember, the goal isn't to avoid fear. Fear will never go away altogether. And if you pour your energy into trying to avoid it, you miss the opportunity to experience the holy instant. Instead, the goal is to not believe the fear. And I think that's so beautiful because she's talking about focusing on the desire and recognizing that the fear is not actually real. Okay. So make your desires real. And one of the ways in which you do that is start to visualize them as having already happened. So if your goal is to make more money, visualize your bank account as overflowing. Visualize your bank account as having that amount of money in it. Write yourself a check. It can be a pretend check, but write yourself a check for a certain amount of money. Keep it in your wallet. Look at it every day. Listen to recordings about abundance. Do everything you need to do to start to visualize everything you desire coming into your reality. Because it's when our mind doesn't understand something that it rejects it. So we'll talk about that in another episode because that's a very important and juicy topic. But I want you to start to really pay attention to what it is you want and bring it into your current reality through visualization, through believing that it's actually already yours, and that includes money. Finally, step 4 here is action. So I want you to think about what it is that you desire and then ask yourself, what is it going to take for me to reach that goal? What action am I going to have to take? For those of you who have been listening to my show or even worked with me personally, you know that I am not about sitting on the mountaintop manifesting your way to the success that you desire. Manifestation is super powerful. I love visualization. We literally just talked about that, but it has to be followed up by action. So I want you to ask yourself, what does it look like to move through the fear and onto the other side? What does it look like to truly be alive and operate from a place of desire instead of fear? What does it look like to reach that goal? What action steps are you going to have to take? And sometimes, especially if you're new to this work or you're new to your industry or whatever it is that you're trying to experience, maybe you've never written a book, maybe you've never spoken on stage, maybe you've never built a business. So you might ask yourself, okay, I don't know how to do this. And that pesky little how gets in the way. Hows can turn into doubt, which can turn into worry, and then that can turn into that fear. So we really want to nip that in the bud very quickly. So I want you to ask yourself, what action am I meant to take? And if you don't know the answer to that, then look at other people who have achieved what you want to achieve. Whether that's reading a book they've written or working with them personally in a coaching capacity or just observing them, reading their life story. And then you'll start to see which action steps are in alignment for you and are going to move you forward towards your goal. So again, one of the key reasons I worked with my first mentor is because she had done what I wanted to do. And I remember very on in our coaching relationship, she said, you can turn your yearly salary, which by the way was about $30,000, into your monthly salary. And I thought she was crazy, but I love the sound of that. And so I did what she taught me to do. And one of those things was transforming my money mindset and moving past that fear and continuing to take action, even when the fear creeped up, even when I felt completely defeated because I had experienced 54 no's in a row, even when no one wanted to work with me, even when I was confused about what in the world I was offering, even when I almost had a panic attack from filming my first video series, even when I cried after my first photo shoot, even when I didn't want to get on video, didn't want to get on audio, hated the sound of my voice, regardless of what I was experiencing, I moved forward. I took that action based on desire. And that desire was to create wealth, to create impact. I know what motivates me. Most people are embarrassed about what motivates them. They're in denial. They're in judgment. Again, those are very low vibrational places. Get honest with yourself about what motivates you. James has very different motivations than me. Money does not motivate him at all. And so I can't use that as a motivator for him. So think about yourself. What's going to motivate you into massive action? For some people, it's thinking about their clients on the other side. All those people who are not being served or helped because you are in your own way and you are in a place of fear. Think about them. Or what about your family? So as you probably heard me talk about on our money mindset episodes on the show and within my work, we grow up with stories about money. This information is passed down from generation to generation. Think about yourself as having the opportunity to transform the lives of future generations in your family through this work. You're no longer going to adhere to the policies or to the thought processes that are holding your dreams hostage, holding your bank account hostage. You are going to learn to transform your reality and take action, even though that fear is there. Again, connect to that desire and allow it to motivate you into massive action. And if you don't know the steps, that's a BS excuse. You can find out the steps. We all have access to Google. We all have access to so many resources at our fingertips, infinite resources. And the other truth is you have an internal guidance system that's going to give you the steps. Your dream is your dream for a reason. And so you know what to do. Internally, if you listen and you pause for just a few minutes and you ask for guidance around the next steps towards your dreams, you will get a download. I guarantee you. It could be a whole series of downloads. It could be set up Facebook ads, write the email, reach out to this person. Or it could be one big one. You need to be on stage. I remember hearing the whisper of moving to London, and I thought that was crazy, but I kept hearing it. Move to London, move to London, move to London. Then start a business, start a business, start a business. Okay. And I got the whisper for money as well. Hit 6 figures, hit 7 figures. You can do it. You can raise your prices. And it's up to us to really lean into that and acknowledge it and then take the steps that move us forward towards that dream and get out of that place of fear. Stop operating from a place of fear. Yes, fear is normal. And I'm not saying when you have more financial success, you won't be scared. Quite the opposite. You will always feel afraid. But it's your choice what you do with that fear. You cannot be in a place of wealth and be living a life full of fear. Maybe you can be for a little bit, but it's not going to be long lasting. Okay. And frankly, if you're not a little scared every single day, you have to ask yourself, are you really raising the bar? So I have people all the time, they tell me, oh, I'm really confident about selling this package. I'm really confident at this price point. And I say, okay, we'll double it. Then what comes up for you? Let's really uncover what those fears are that are beneath the surface. And then we're going to be able to move through them. We're not meant to be coasting through life. This is about raising that bar. For those of us who are destined for big things, we should always be afraid, and we should have the awareness to know what's going on with the fear. Is it actually real? And okay, great, it's not. So let's move through it. So just to recap, the 4 A's here are acknowledgement of your fear, awareness of your fear, attachment to the desire, and then taking massive action. So if you take all of those steps, you will quickly move from that scared place into that wealth creation place. You will be showing up like never before. Your fear will no longer run the show. Your desires will run the show. And that means your ability to create wealth will be massive. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you take action. Use these 4 steps, practice them. Literally take about an hour after listening to this, if you have the time today. If not, carve it out for tomorrow. But take action immediately and really look at some of the fears that are coming up for you that you know are keeping you broke and keeping you in a place of just good enough when you're actually meant to be thriving. Wealth is our birthright, but it only shows up, it only happens when you actually take the action. And most people don't. Most people live in a place of fear. Do not be one of the ordinary ones. Be an extraordinary one and move through that fear. All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye. I hope you loved today's episode. It's one of my favorite topics, and I'm so excited that you now know how to move from scared into rich. So I have 2 steps for you now. Take action on those 4 steps that I broke down in this actual episode. I want you to take action literally right away. Those people who take immediate action will get more results. That's just the truth. So often life gets in the way. We forget about what we've just heard. We forget to do it and put it in place. But I want you to take action immediately. And then secondly, I'd love for you to forward this episode to someone who you know needs this material. Maybe there's somebody who you know needs to raise their prices or ask for more money. Send them this episode so that they can take these 4 steps and apply it to their own life. And I'll look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you for listening to the I Heart My Life show. For more inspiration, success tips, and ways to achieve your life and business goals, definitely follow me on Facebook and Instagram on I Heart My Life Now. See you next time.